Hey everybody, it's Jonathan Rodriguez from The Search Specialist. This is my 5th year doing a talk with Maid, which I'm really grateful for. I'm here with a lot of great people talking about forward-thinking ideas in the cleaning industry. And so I'm very excited to share some great information with you this year. This year, what I'm going to be doing is sharing with you my SEO blueprint, essentially what I use to help people rank in Google for cleaning companies. I'll be teaching you how this works. I have a limited amount of time here, so what I'm going to do is try to get through this as quickly as possible. But at the end of the video, you're going to be able to have a link that's going to take you to the actual blueprint that you can download off the website. So you'll have all of this with you. I want to go ahead and go through this with you because it's going to answer some questions that you likely will have if you just only had the actual blueprint itself. So we're going to go ahead and go through that as quickly as possible. But all right, let's get real for a second here. Have you ever wondered why some cleaning businesses get all the clicks, all the calls, and all the bookings, even when their work isn't better than yours? That's not luck. It's strategy. You didn't start a cleaning business just to stare at your phone waiting for it to ring. Trust me, I know. I've had a cleaning business before. And you definitely didn't sign up to compete with every $99 maid service that keeps popping up in your area. Again, my name is Jonathan Rodriguez, and I'm the guy cleaning companies call when they're tired of hiding on page 3 of Google and finally want to get noticed without begging friends for reviews or dancing on TikTok or whatever it is. I am the only SEO provider for the American Housing Association, and I am the only external SEO provider for Rescue My Maid service. So I'm very, grateful for that people trust, my work to be able to get them where they need to be to help their businesses grow. So today I'm handing you my actual SEO blueprint, the same system I've used to help cleaning companies show up in multiple cities, steal attention from their competitors, and turn their websites into lead machines. And don't worry, I'm not here to confuse you with a bunch of jargon or bore you with technical nonsense. I speak fluent cleaning company. So grab a coffee, shut off your notifications, and let's turn your business into one of those that clients choose, before they even finish typing the word cleaner. So it's going to happen in 3 parts. The part 1, I'm going to show you the blueprint, the SEO foundation to actually work in 2025. Part 2 is going to talk about the hook, how to be chosen over your competitors every time. And part 3, we're going to talk about the expansion, essentially ranking in cities you don't even live in, and that's kind of a hard thing to do. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that as we go forward and move through this. So since, again, I've got limited time here, we're going to go ahead and just kind of get started and let's begin. All right. My blueprint. Here we are. How to rank, convert, and dominate local search. All right, cool. So the first thing you want to do when you have a website, try to figure out where you're at, figure out where you're ranking in Google. So if you're in Los Angeles or if you're in a small town in Iowa or whatever it is, start by Googling your name plus this, your business name in the city. Do you even appear in the map pack anywhere? Also type in house cleaning plus your city or maid service plus your city to find out where you are. Are you showing up? Are you not showing up? Are you showing up on page 2, 3, 5, 10, nowhere? Page 1, that sort of thing to figure out where you are. You can use tools like the Google Search Console or Page Speed Insights to check some performance and stuff like that, but that's not necessarily what you really need to be doing for your first audit to check your presence. You want to make sure you find out where you are. So check if your website also is mobile friendly. You want to make sure that whatever website you have, it loads in like under 3 seconds and it feels modern. Most leads do come from mobile search. I would say, maybe 60-40 nowadays. People are still using desktops. I use desktops. People who are at work and do business usually have desktops or at least laptop computers, but your site must be mobile optimized for sure. No question about it. All right. So once you do that and figure out where you're at, we need to figure out what keywords are going to bring people to your site. So we want to make sure that you choose the right ones, not ones that people aren't looking for. One thing that I see a lot, for some people, when they have websites set up by other people or themselves, is that they will have keywords like recurring service or something like that. Now, recurring keywords are good, but those aren't the keywords people search for. They look for keywords that have intention, like house cleaning, Salt Lake City, which is where I'm at. I'm just going to say Salt Lake City. Maid service, Salt Lake City. Cleaning services near me. Move out cleaning, Salt Lake City. Deep cleaning, Salt Lake City. There are some other keywords here too that you have to do with like recurring type of keywords, like recurring maid service. But a lot of times when people create pages on their site, they'll say recurring service, but not the maid or not the house cleaning keyword in the middle, and that's what people are looking for. That no one searches for recurring service and expects to find a cleaning company. So always remember that if work is being done for you or you're doing it yourself, look at the keywords that people are searching for. This does two things. Number one, it brings people to your site, but also it gives Google signals. It tells them, okay, house cleaning, maid service, move out cleaning, deep cleaning, eco-friendly cleaning, bi-weekly cleaning. These are all things that will trigger, you showing up in Google Maps, as well as also, in the organic listings, which are below Google Maps. Just make sure you use these keywords naturally and you're not stuffing them all over your site as well. I always suggest creating pages for each of these individual sites and then going ahead and optimizing them for the city that you're actually working in. All right. Building site structure. A well-structured website builds trust with both Google and potential clients. Must-haves obviously are a homepage. Focus on professional house cleaning in your city. Okay, I'm just going to say Salt Lake City just to make it easier. It's Salt Lake City where I'm at. You want to have that in there. You don't want to just put Monica's cleaning company. Where are you? What do you do and why you're good at it? That's what you want on that homepage. You want to kind of soft sell people. I'm not saying write a whole sales page on the homepage. We want to make sure that we're able to, let Google know who you are and what you do and where you do it. Create those service pages we talked about, house cleaning, maid service, things like that. The about page will talk about your story and build trust. You don't want something that's just going to be random, like we're the best in the business, blah, blah, blah. Tell a little bit of the story. You don't have to tell people your life story, but tell a little bit of the story. People love stories. Contact page, obviously you need that with a clickable phone number and then some sort of booking or quote form as well. That would be great. Obviously your contact page should have a contact form too. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about creating individual city pages here in a little bit later. That's going to be the third part of the actual presentation here. All right. So on-page optimization, what you're going to need, every page on your site will have the ability to create a title tag and a description tag. That's what shows up in Google. So whenever you're Googling for something, whether it's house cleaning service, wherever you are, or you're looking for, staplers or whatever it is, you're going to see in the results the title of the page and just below that the description. You want yours to say, maid service in Salt Lake City, and then your business name in there. The business name that you have here is part of the branding, which you're going to want. So make sure you have your business name in that title tag. That's what's going to be very helpful for you. The meta description is below that. So you're going to want to put something like, are you looking for professional maid service in Salt Lake City? Monica's Maid Service offers trusted, affordable cleaning backed by 5-star reviews. Okay, so you're using the keywords that you want to rank for, you're using the city that you're in, and you're giving people some encouragement to click onto your page. The H1 header is an SEO tag that makes your main keyword bigger, like house cleaning in Salt Lake City. The H2 tags, which are little smaller tags within the content of the page, helps to organize the content into sections. You want to include a couple internal links as well. So if you're talking about maid service and then the word deep cleaning comes up, link to your deep cleaning page. Make sure you add your location. If you want to go ahead and type in things like, we clean all over such and such zip code, or we clean these neighborhoods in, Salt Lake City, Utah, or whatever it may be, add that in there. That gives Google signals to let them know, okay, this is where they are. They know the area. It's all part of SEO stuff. Every page should also include a clear call to action at the bottom, like give us a call now, give us a call today, that sort of thing. And you want to also optimize for conversions too. Attracting traffic is only half of the equation. Your site must convert. So add those trust signals. You're licensed, you're bonded, you're insured. If you have any badges, like we were the best of 2025 in such and such city, that's great. There are review widgets that you can use, and it's just like code. You add it into the pages, and it could be scrolling like 5-star reviews and things like that. Those are trust factors with with people as well as Google. Make sure you have your phone number and a booking button at the top of every page. There's something I work with. I don't know how many clients in the cleaning industry. A lot. And basically, sometimes they don't want to call. They don't want anyone to call. They just want people to book. I will tell you right now, not everybody is going to want to book blindly with a random company they've never spoken to. I would never call a cleaning company and not call a cleaning company and just book with them. I want to hear who they are. I want to ask them some questions. You don't know who's on the other end of, that website, so always place your phone number and your booking button on the top of every page. Sorry if you don't want to answer the phone, but that's how it's got to be. So, and just make sure you use real photos of your team or your jobs. Skip this generic stock images. I get that at the beginning, you're going to need to use something stock as you're starting out. And I always tell people, get something up now and make it good later, because if you're going to make everything perfect, it's going to take so much time to make it perfect. Trust me. I've failed at this many times in different businesses because I wanted things to be perfect. Every pencil had to be in line, every I had to be dotted, T crossed, whatever. Obviously, make sure you have good grammar, but you know what I mean? I've done this before. Every picture had to be perfect, and it took sometimes years to get it up. You know what I mean? So just make sure that you get something up, but I would highly suggest you skip the generic stock images. Take photos of your crew, take photos of yourself, even one photo, the best photo of yourself. Go ahead and throw that up there. That way people can see a real person, not just a faceless name that they can tell is a stock photo. That will really, really help you with conversions. Also include short client testimonials, on your pages. Even if you clean for grandma, and this is all the beginning or whatever, or your mom or your dad or whatever it is, get a testimonial, put something up there. Hopefully you're further along than this by now, to where you have some of these things, but if not, fill in those gaps, okay? And also keep the booking process really simple. The less clicks, the more clients you're going to get. A lot of people, try to overcomplicate things and make it all perfect. I've had a client one time, she made a whole test for people, and it was multiple pages of tests they had to take in order to see if they qualify to be their client. I was like, this is not a good idea, but you can only say so much to people before they get offended. But, when you suggest it a little bit, being the consultant, the one they hired to solve these problems and to make things convert, it's my duty to essentially tell people, that. So keep that in mind. Blog with purpose. People ask about, should I be blogging? Should I not be blogging? Yeah, you should be blogging. Okay. It makes you a topical authority in your area and on the topic. So how often should you schedule a deep clean in Salt Lake City? The 5 benefits of hiring a professional maid service in Salt Lake City, or even the surrounding cities, whatever. Move out cleaning checklists for renters in Salt Lake City. So you're telling Google also, my website's all about cleaning and it's all about this city. Okay. It's really, really helpful to do that. If you can do 2 a month, that's great. If you want to do more, that's fine. AI can help you with that. Be very careful with AI. A lot of times it's really easy to detect it's been written by AI, and you want to try to do what you can to make it undetectable by Google's AI detection content software, I guess you would call it that, or their systems. That's a whole different subject. We can talk about that later. I wanted to actually include some of that in this talk, but I didn't think I was going to be able to get through it all. So I had a client not too long ago just write all these pages on their site that they didn't hire me to do, for a large city. And it was just 15 different pages. It was all obviously AI. It was all wrong. Okay. And I hate to say that, but they hired me to do this sort of work, not that particular work, but to help them. And people will just kind of go off on their own thinking they know what they're doing, and they kind of don't. So if you are, going to be focusing on doing some of this stuff DIY, and you're going to learn SEO and you're going to learn all the ins and outs of it, which I don't suggest if you're actually running a company. But if you are, make sure you know exactly what you're doing. Okay. But anyways, with the blogs, focus on one key phrase per blog and link to a related service page. So if you're talking about how often you should schedule a deep clean in, Salt Lake City, the deep clean or keyword in in the actual content should link to your deep cleaning page. Same thing with Maid service, same thing for move out cleaning, things like that. A lot of people have checklists for some reason, a cleaning checklist, which I think are really helpful. You can leave a link to your checklist. Just link somewhere where Google can move around different pages and see that you're interlinking into your individual pages. That would be the best thing for you. All right, Google Business Profile Optimization. All right, it's important that we all know this. There's some very important things in here that you need to know. But a properly optimized Google Business Profile, or GBP, can generate more leads than your website. So make sure you have your exact business name in there. Don't keyword stuff. Don't put, Monica's House Cleaning - Salt Lake City Cleaning Service. Okay, those are against Google's terms of service. You could potentially be suspended for doing that. Sometimes you really won't. If you have a competitor who says, or not, that's not their business name, they can easily edit it and Google will agree with them. Okay. There's ways around that. We can talk about it later. The primary category is going to be house cleaning service. Okay. It's not going to be cleaning service. It's not going to be commercial cleaning service and house cleaning service and whatever. If you do both, that's fine. But what happens is when you have multiple categories, you're diluting from the main category that you want. So keep that in mind, because Google sees house cleaning service different than commercial cleaning service, different than pressure washer cleaning service, and so forth. So stick to the main one and we can work the other things out later. Add all of the service areas in there. That's part of the Google Business Profile. The cities and towns that you serve. If you no longer serve certain areas, pull them out. You don't want to have, I serve all of Los Angeles County, and you really don't. It's just going to show that you're all over the place, but there's people who are specific to certain areas, and they're the ones who are going to get more calls. Every service that you have, house cleaning, maid service, move out cleaning, deep cleaning, post-construction cleaning, so on and so forth, should be under the services. Okay. And make sure those are the keywords that people search for. You don't want to write them backward or in strange ways. Make sure you complete all the fields, hours, phone number, website description, pretty obvious stuff. Oh, okay. And also enhancements. Okay. So what we're going to do also is you're going to want to upload photos, real photos of your team, of your logo, of before and after cleans. You're going to want to post updates weekly if you can. That keeps it engaged. Google will like that, but also people who potentially visit your Google Business Profile will see that you're engaged, that you're updating, you're with it. It's all about the internet nowadays. Enable messaging if you can respond quickly enough. It should go to your phone. There's other ways you can set this up as well. But you want to give Google everything that it's asking for, everything that it wants. It makes Google happy, and you want to make Google happy. The most important thing of this whole page, okay, are reviews. You need to get reviews. If you don't get reviews, you're just going to sit there in the doldrums and you're just going to spin and spin and spin, okay? You will have no idea, coming from someone who's had clients all over the world, who's worked with 50, 75, 100 plus cleaning companies, how people don't want to do what they don't want to do, even to their detriment. Okay. I've begged people before, get reviews. They don't do anything about it. You need reviews. Reviews show that, number one, it shows where these people are reviewing you from. So it kind of gives Google an idea about the service area that you're in, but also it just shows more trust. And the more reviews that you have over time and consistently, the better you will show up in Google. I guarantee you. I've seen it many, many, many times. Always respond to those reviews because Google loves engagement. Okay. I went a little bit ahead of myself here, but I aim for 3+ new reviews a month if you can. There's services and softwares that can help you do that. Some I'd recommend, some I don't. You can even do it yourself by just leaving, go to Vistaprint, leave little tiny business cards that say, leave us a review. We really appreciate it. We're a small business and we rely on these reviews a lot. You can run a little contest if you want and say, hey, whoever leaves, a review this month is going to get a free deep clean or a free refrigerator and oven clean out, something like that. You can incentivize certain things here to leave a review. Do not incentivize a 5-star review. Just incentivize the review alone, because if someone takes a picture of that and submits that to Google, they'll see that you're basically bribing people for 5-star reviews. So just ask them for honest reviews. If you know that there's a client that you have that is difficult, that is not a fun client, don't give them a card. Okay. So you know what I mean? All right. And yes, also ask the clients to mention the service and the city. It's going to help you out so much. So say, can you just mention the word house cleaning service? And then since you're in, like I live in Sandy, Utah. So like, you're in Sandy, that'll help you show up in the area, in the city of Sandy, Utah, or whatever. It's obviously has to do with where you live, but I just can't keep thinking of all these different cities right now. Citations and directory listings, make sure you submit yourself to Yelp, Angie's List, Facebook, LinkedIn, Thumbtack, Nextdoor. Those are all high authority business directories. You want to be in those. Make sure your name, your address, your phone number are all the same. They're all consistent. Okay. And if you can seek out industry specific directories and other local directories, go ahead and do that. I have a whole list of them that we use all the time that are very specific, that help move the needle, which is great. Quality does beat quantity. Okay. So if you get into like the top 10 best ones, that's good. But if you have more than those, that is good. So I always kind of consider the more the merrier. There are some directories that don't really matter, but what Google will do is they will go ahead and compare the address that they have that you've given them with the addresses on the other pages that are like, brownbook.com or chamberofcommerce.com or whatever it is, not the Chamber of Commerce in your area, but like Chamber of Commerce. People, they use those high domain authority directories to determine, if all that information matches. A lot of people work from home in this industry. So, I always, and I've had 4 or 5 Google business profiles here in Salt Lake City, which I still have, and not one person in the entire time I've been doing this since 2012, to be specific, in the cleaning service industry, not SEO. I started that in 2007, started online marketing 2002, whatever. But not one person's ever visited my home, my place of business where I had the address. So don't worry about people. I don't want people to know where I live. You know what? Don't worry about that. No one's coming for you. I promise. No one's come for me yet. All right. So let's go move on here. Track and improve. So you want to use that data that you have now to be able to refine your strategy and grow faster. Use Google Analytics. Set that up. It tells you how people are getting to your site, how long they're staying on your site, what pages are going to us visiting on your site, things like that. The Google Search Console is like the fuse box of your whole website. You can turn things on, you can turn things off. You can submit sitemaps. You can track keywords that people are typing in to find you. You can track your performance. Is it moving up? Is it moving down? You can do conversion tracking through Google Analytics to see how many people are actually converting to getting a quote request or clicking on your call now button or things like that. Your Google Business Profile Insights, which is on your Google Business Profile through Google Maps, will tell you how many interactions you're having during that month, how many calls you're getting, how many direction requests. I don't know why people do that for service businesses, but they do. And like I said, calls as well. So you can track all of that just to see what's going on. If you want to see some real SEO results and success stories, you can check them out here. I know you can't click on this because it's a slideshow, but this will be in the PDF for the SEO blueprint. Also, so I'll show you a page here with showing some of our results and what you can kind of look at and say, okay, great. This person's, they've been able to get people on the first page of Google for X amount of keywords. There's some clients I have, they're on the first page of Google for over 100 keywords, which is awesome because they're in different cities. They're in different, keyword sets and things like that. So this blueprint's powerful. You don't have to do it all alone. If you need some help, let me know. SEO is a full-time job and you already have one. You're already running a cleaning business. Implementing the strategy requires hours of learning, writing, tweaking, staying up to date with constant changes from Google. And even then, it can take months to see results unless you already know what you're doing. That's why many cleaning company owners choose to partner with somebody who does this every single day, like myself. So you'd rather skip the overwhelm, avoid the costs and mistakes, start seeing momentum in as little as 30 days, which usually I can always pretty much guarantee, depending on where you are. Reach out to me. I'm a search specialist. It's a done for you SEO service. Again, this link will be live in your SEO blueprint. I'll take care of the cleaning. I'm sorry, you take care of the cleaning and I'll take care of the clicks. All right. Next one, the hook. How to be chosen over your competitors every time. It's not about stealing customers. It's about making sure they never consider anyone else. Most cleaning clients don't choose the best cleaning company. They choose the one that shows up, that stands out, that feels like the obvious choice in the moment. This part of the blueprint is about how you can create that magnetic moment where they find you and stop looking for anyone else. So what you want to do is, I've just had to talk to a couple of people about this not too long ago, just the other day. You want to go ahead and create an offer that converts, okay? Because, and this is the reason why. Sometimes, years ago, I remember that there are some pretty famous people in the industry who were like, though I was told that would say, don't offer anything, don't offer discounts, it's all about you, blah, blah, blah. That was years ago, okay? I think we all know that like things are more expensive now than they have been. It's just the way no matter what the reasoning is, it always just happens. Things get more expensive, I think my dad told me one time that the first house they bought was like $199,000 like 1981. Okay, that's not happening anymore. You know what I mean? Well, it could be happening in some places, but not the places I live. And so anyways, things get more expensive. So what people want is they kind of want a deal. They want maybe a discount. And so let me ask you a question that you can answer here yourselves right now. If you had two websites that you liked, two people that you were considering, okay? They're both equally like, oh, okay, I like them both, but one says, here's $20 off to give us a try. I'm choosing them over $20 off because I'm going to save myself $20. You know what I mean? I'm not a cheap person, but I want someone to give me that risk on their end so I can take a risk on them too. You can try things like, the new clients get 3 cleanings, but pay for 2. Or, new clients get a free fridge and deep clean if you book this month. Only 3 spots left, that sort of thing. I've got pop-ups that come up on people's websites that will have actually a countdown that will say, okay, this offer expires in like 18 hours. They always expire in like 18 hours, but it's just essentially that scarcity and, being able to get people to take action right away. So make it real, make it time sensitive, and make it easy to understand. You really want to offer them something that's going to give them some value and it's going to push them over the edge and say, well, I liked Monica's and I liked Linda's or I liked Jason's or whatever it was, but this person is, going to offer me a little bit more. I'll test them out and see if they like them. If they don't like them, then I'm going to leave. You know what I mean? But that's the way to be able to kind of get them to choose you over your competitors. Okay. And your competitors are likely to use similar colors, similar pricing, and saying the same things. And, they're reliable, trustworthy, detail, everyone's background check, things like that. None of that really stands out anymore. It just doesn't. I've seen this progress over time. Name your package or offer, the fresh start special or the clean home kickoff, something like that. Add real faces, like I said before, of your team. They want to see that you're real people, that you're not just like these faceless who knows who on the other side. And lead this with social proof. Put your 5-star ratings on that page, on the home page and your Google business profile, on that, that offer page. And make sure you try to use emotional language, come home to peace of mind. It's harder than professional service, and you can also use things like, microscopy, that reassures people there's no contracts. You can cancel at any time. I offer the same thing. I don't want people locked into something if we don't like each other. You know what I mean? We don't want to be, attached to each other. No one wants to sign contracts anymore at all. So, but your message should answer, why you, why now, and why not them? Why not those other people? We don't want them. They want you. So you want to build trust before they contact you as well. People don't just want a clean home. They want to feel safe, letting someone into the personal space. I certainly do. Okay. I don't want random people just showing up who I've never spoken with, so I want to make sure that interaction and on the website, does build trust, and trust builders that you can add are locally owned, serving the city for, whatever city it is, for 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. All cleaners are background checked and fully insured. That's really important. Video testimonials, if you can get them, go ahead and put them in there. I'm sure you'll have a friend or family member who can do that. I have a problem asking for video testimonials. So I find it to be like kind of like for me a little bit, because I'm kind of a shy person. It doesn't sound like I am, but I am. I'll be like, hey, can you record a video for me? You know what I mean? It's like, okay. So anyways, but those do convert really, really well. So if you have no problem asking for that, you're going to win. All right. And then those Google business profile posts, you can go ahead and put before and after photos. You can talk about community involvement. I've got a client. It was really cool. She also did teacher appreciation, and it made like the news. And so she got a lot of links from that, so she's able to kind of just like go out there and really show that she's involved with the community, and she's doing really well in her state, essentially, and just show the availability or fast response, same week appointments available, emergency cleaning available, that sort of thing, and that helps people, believe that you are a reputable company and all that good stuff. So trust is built through specificity, not generalities, and so easy places to add your offer or hook. I would say the homepage, your Google business profile, some of your posts, your email signature, your booking form, maybe a special text or email reminders you give to people, and a specials tab at the top of the main menu. I've got a client who gets a lot of hits, and her specials tab gets over 300 hits a month. People want deals. Okay. Remember that. I'm not saying give away the farm at all, but give them something to make them a recurring client. I spoke with somebody just the other day. He actually does pool cleaning, and he said he's willing to pay up to $300 per client just to be able, because he knows the value of the long-term value of a client. So he'll do something like, your first month is 95% off. I'm not sure if he's having them sign contracts or not. I think there's something going on with that, but he's even willing to give them like $100 gift cards and $200 gift cards, but he does it strategically, so that's something that's a whole different story. But, remember that your recurring client, the long-term value of them is worth the upfront little bit of a loss of money in the beginning. Some people don't want to do that, but, this is how the strategies work. This is how people win and build these really big businesses. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next part here, which is another final thought from this particular section, is start competing and start standing out. Stop competing and start standing out. Now, there's hundreds of cleaning companies out there, as you well know. They're popping up everywhere, but only one is going to make, that next client feel seen and understood and taken care of before the first booking even happens. And that hopefully would be you. Most of your competitors are invisible in their marketing. They don't know what they're doing at all. That means you have the chance to be unforgettable. You have the chance to be able to be the one that they choose. So if you'd like help crafting high converting offers, building trust fast, and turning your online presence into your number one salesperson, give me a call. There'll be a link in the PDF that you get. So you can go ahead and book a call so we can chat about that. If you're comfortable in your business, you've been running it, you've got retained earnings, things like that. I'm more than happy to help you out, to strategize and move forward here. So just remember, don't blend in. You want to stand out and become the one they choose every time. And that leads me to something real quick here also. I've got clients who have color schemes in their head. They want to make sure everything matches, including their book now button and including their, call me now buttons. And so if everything's pink and every button is pink, it's going to be really hard for that to stand out. So there's certain colors as well that you use for buttons that are important, like green and orange. You want to use those, so try not to be too set in your ways if that's something that you think you may be at times, because being open to suggestions is really important, to succeed, and take it from someone who's been working at this for a long, long time, that, sometimes you have to bend what you feel a little bit in order to win, even though it may hurt, or you may not like it. Probably the same thing happens to me as well, but make sure that you take good advice. Okay. All right. Lastly, what we're going to talk about is ranking in those cities you don't live in. This is really cool. Yes, you can get leads from cities where you don't even have a physical address. And here's how. You don't need an office in every city to dominate in the map. In fact, some of the top performing cleaning companies in competitive markets are getting calls from areas where they don't even physically operate. Oh, how's that happen? The smart content, local signals, and the right SEO strategy. And this section of the blueprint is for the cleaners who want to scale and stretch and secure more visibility across the region. I've got a client, that is on the first page for like 100 keywords. She has all these different cities she ranks in, and it's not just like for house cleaning. It's like for maid service and move out cleaning and all this stuff. So it's really, really great to be able to do that, because if there are, let's just say 10 or 15 cities around you, that you want to rank in, it's very possible you can do that by adding in new pages on your site, that tick all the right boxes with Google as it stands right now. They're not copied and pasted versions of your homepage, or they're not just like the same content, but with like you swap out the city. That's not going to work. It has to be like specifically designed. And you want to make sure you use unique content on each one of those pages. Mention local landmarks, mention neighborhoods, mention zip codes. Be really great if you're able to do that. You want to be able to have realistic use cases for that city. So many of our clients in, Sandy, Utah are busy professionals commuting to, and there's like, let's just say, who's here? Who's here? People hate them. Gosh, what's it called? I used to use them all the time. It's not Andy's List. I think they bought them. It's a Thumbtack. The Thumbtack is actually in my city. And I used to use them in 2012, and they were really good for a few years. And they started selling their leads to everybody and their brother. I'm sure everyone who hears this right now is probably agreeing with me, but they are in my city. So you can say, all right, many of our, clients, our business professionals commuting to Thumbtack or commuting to Adobe, or the NSA's even out here and all kinds of stuff too. So, that just shows that you have like local relevance, photos of your work. So this is really interesting. If you are working, let's just say in Sandy, Utah, or wherever it may be, that's not the exact city that you're in. If you can have you yourself or your lead, cleaner, whoever you trust, take a picture of a clean bathroom, a clean kitchen, whatever it is, and they're able to upload it to the Google business profile. Google will know where you uploaded that from. Okay. And so when they see you've uploaded photos of your work from this city and this city and this city and this city and this city, and you're getting customer reviews from those cities, Google's going to say, okay, great. They're in these cities. It's obvious. They're uploading video or pictures from there. They're doing, they're uploading, or clients are uploading reviews from these certain cities, and it all starts to combine and make sense, And if there's internal links to nearby cities and your core service pages, go ahead and do those, Make the page feel as if it was written by someone who knows that city and they're not just trying to rank in it. I have content, for all of this, where I essentially have created like a really good template, to be able to get people to rank in these individual cities. You're not going to rank in every single city that you want. You're not going to be in Miami and rank for Orlando. You're not going to do that. It's just not going to happen, but you can certainly get quite a few underneath your belt, and there's other things you can do also to help push those other ones a little bit higher that, that test cost more money and more time and all that, but it's definitely possible. I've done it many times. Okay. So what Google looks for in a non-physical location, even if you don't have an address in a target city, Google will still consider ranking you. If you have a dedicated page for that location, your page actually gets clicks. People from that city leave you reviews. You can have backlinks from websites or directories related to that city. You can show activity, like I was telling you about, those posts, those photos, those reviews tied to that area. Google's algorithm is smart, but it still relies on signals. So give it reasons to believe that you're relevant, to that particular zip code, and you're going to do a good job with that. All right, so we've got the local domination stack we've created over here. This is a secret combo that helps you break out of your immediate city. You want service page content, make the content 500 to 800 words, use unique images, headlines, for example, avoid using the same sentence structure across multiple pages. You want to have unique content. Everyone thinks they can use AI and make it work. You don't understand like how you really need to be a prompt engineer to be able to do this right and do it correctly. You don't want to have the same detectable information that's going to be on all the other pages. And so there's ways to do that. We have a little arsenal on our end over here on how to do that as well and be able to get those things scaled and out. So definitely that's helpful. Ask clients, again, to leave reviews, rotate which city pages your review links point to in those follow-ups. And also backlinks too, get listed in directories that serve your target cities, like local newspapers, the Chamber of Commerce, town blogs, things like that. Those are really helpful. Write guest posts if you can on other people's websites that point to that particular page. You can sponsor or participate in local events. You can create a Facebook event where it says, here's a Facebook event we're having right now, where we are going to choose one person who responds to the event to clean their home, or one veteran, or one senior citizen, or one person with cancer, cleaning with a reason, things like that. So where you're able to create that event that points to your website. It's on a public Facebook group. Map embeds are important. If you embed a map into that page of the actual city, or driving directions from that city, from your place of business to that city, provided you have an office, that helps also. Even writing out driving directions from your office to that city is like a signal with Google. It sounds kind of strange. It's been around for a long time, but it's how it works. So remember, it's all about relevancy. All right. Your expansion page optimization list. This list is your go-to when, you're building a new city page. Again, unique, localized opening paragraph. It doesn't sound copied from another page. Mention zip codes and well-known neighborhoods. Reference local landmarks, employers, community groups, internal links to other nearby service pages. So if you're talking about house cleaning, link to your house cleaning page. External links to certain authority sites. So for example, if you're going to be linking to the city of Miami or whatever it is, link to the Miami page on their Google business profile. You want at least one client testimonial or from a resident or a job done in that city. Customized call to action tailored to that area, not just contact us. If you live in the city of Sandy, Utah or whatever, give us a call today, that sort of thing. Use your H1 tags, SEO optimize your meta tags to talk about that city in specifics, and whatever the main keywords are for that city. Use a mobile friendly layout, of course. Schema markup is something, it's a whole new thing. If you want to look into it, you can, but if that's part of technical SEO, that's something I promise I wouldn't talk to you about, but schema markup is important to talk about, it's a local business, where that local business is. If it's done correctly, you can put GPS coordinates in there. You can talk about the target people you want, or the people you want to target. It goes deeply involved in that. So that's something you want to research, or give me a call. Alt text on those images. So every image on the page will have alt text, basically describing what that image is about. You don't want to use the same picture, ideally, for every single page. You want to make sure you have a unique picture. I usually use a map of the actual city. And when I make a map of the actual city, I'll make the alt text something like, cleaning service area, such and such city. And then again, optionally embed a Google map in there if you like to. So the more that your page reflects the real community, the more likely Google is to trust it and rank it. If you live in kind of a more rural area also, it's even easier to do this. Okay. If you live in like LA County, it's a little bit more expensive to do that. More time, more effort, but it can be done. I've done Orange County, California, which isn't easy, for certain keywords, over 100 keywords. I have all the screenshots to prove it. So anyways, final thought, own the region, not just the zip code that you're in. You don't need to open an office in every city to win business there. I have done that before. I have 4 or 5 of them here in Salt Lake City. They're still open today. I started years ago, which really, really helped. They're really, really valuable. It's hard to do that now because of Google's video verification. So I've been lucky to be able to do that, but there's still ways you can do it too. By the way, real quick, never use a UPS store if you can help it. Never use a PO box if you can help it. You're just one jealous competitor away from them reporting you and having you become suspended. So anyways, if you already have one, just leave it, but don't, start one, and then go ahead and use a UPS store because you want to be in a certain city. You just use where you live if it's near that city, and just hide the address in the Google business profile and just use that as one of your areas of service. Okay. So try not to do that. It's very clear that it's against Google's terms of service and they don't like that. But once you start seeing traffic and leads come in from the surrounding towns, it unlocks a whole new level of scale. You just stop being just another cleaner in Salt Lake City or Miami or whatever it is, and start becoming the go-to cleaning company for your whole region. It builds a great branding when people see that you're, showing up for this city and that city and this city and that city. It builds a lot of trust. If you'd like help expanding your footprint online and dominating those search results across multiple cities, again, there's a link to go ahead and fill out a form in the PDF. So we can go ahead and have a chat about that. I'm happy to help you out. We help cleaning companies go from local to regional, faster and smarter than we ever thought was possible, So it just comes with a lot of that experience for sure. Now, this is some link there. This is the link to the SEO blueprint. It's the searchspecialist.com/SEO blueprint. My original Search Specialist website is old. I'm working on a new one right now, but the URL will stay the same no matter if it's the older version or if it's the newer version. I'm working on a lot of things right now, so I'm getting to that when I can, but it'll be the searchspecialists with an s.com/SEO-blueprint. So write that down, take a picture with your phone, whatever it is, get that blueprint. It's going to really help you out. And there's just some copyright information that really isn't very important, but thank you very much for giving me that time to be able to discuss this with you, to help move you forward and show you what needs to be done.